Hi, everybody. Shirlene Reeves here. I always love chatting with you. This is really fun for me. But I wanted to talk to you today about clearing. This is so important. And what is clearing? Well, like I talked to you in the video the last time about my situation and how many problems that I had in my life that it created all this fear. So we have to get the fear out of our system. That's what the clearing is all about. And a lot of times we think differently than other people. Have you ever noticed that? But imagine if everybody thought the same way, what a boring world this would be. There'd be no challenges. We probably would never make a mistake because everybody would think the same way we do exactly. But the truth is, nobody thinks the way we do, right? Nobody thinks the way you do. Nobody thinks the way I do. I can share with you some great information, but even in sharing that information, you may or may not hear it the way I intended to share it. And that's where we get into trouble because that is where our childhood steps in. So when we think about clearing, we have to think about specific things. And what I'd like to do is read some ideas out of my book about clearing and the questions you might want to ask yourself. So are you ready? Here you go. The question I ask in the book, and here's the book, Selling Through Your Heart, empowering you to build relationships for financial freedom. So here's what I ask. Do you always have to be right? Are you walking over another person's boundaries without thinking about his or her feelings? Is it your practice to think and talk about only you all the time, right? All your problems, your issues, and you're trying to work the you out on everybody who will listen. Do you anger easily and take control of every decision, making others feel as if they must walk on eggshells to keep the peace? Oh my gosh, I lived a whole life of walking on eggshells for fear that something would happen. So as I grew up, I became a people pleaser. All I did was say yes to everything because I was afraid that people wouldn't like me if I didn't say yes. And that wasn't beneficial to me or them because if you say yes to everything and then you don't want to do it, there causes a tremendous amount of resentment. So let's look at the next thing. Are you a liar, telling stories that aren't true except in your own mind? That's an interesting thought. Have you ever been critical and judgmental while hurting another's feelings? Believe me, if you say ugly things about somebody, it's always going to come right back to you. And then what are you going to do? That should be the fear. So stop talking about other people. Stop talking about yourself all the time and take an interest in what others have to share with you. Is it your nature to blame everyone else but yourself? That absolutely happened to me with my husband. Boy, don't you love that? I learned that over the weekend. I was at the Evolutionary Business Council, and one of the people I was talking to said she had so many problems with her husband, meaning the husband of the past. And I have my own husbands, not just one, unfortunately. But how did you relate, or how are you relating to your spouse or your children? Is it always their fault? Is everything their fault, or is it just the way you're thinking? Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And maybe if you sat down and looked at it from someone else's perspective or what they may be experiencing, you would change your frame of mind. And here's a great example. I was sitting waiting to go on the freeway. I had nowhere to go. There were cars all the way up to the signal on the on-ramp. And this guy behind me kept honking. And I was throwing my arms up going, where am I going to go? Where do you want me to go? Why are you honking at me? Well, there was no answer for it. And I just realized that maybe he was having a really bad day and he needed to get somewhere in a big hurry. And he thought his only answer to this big, long line of people was to sit and continue to honk at people, making everyone else uncomfortable. So it felt like he was blaming everybody else for the anger and the rage that he had inside, trying to make everyone move out of his way. But nobody had anywhere to go. And that has a lot to do with, the reason I bring that up is because so many times people get angry and there's nothing anybody can do for them. And all it takes is patience and a waiting to figure out what to do. But instead, they get angry and jump all over people all around, blaming everybody else for their particular challenge. So let's take a look at the next one. Are you a downer, thinking only negative thoughts and whining to anyone who will listen? If you can clear a room really fast, you're probably a downer. Because people hide from you. They don't want to be around you. People want to be uplifted. They don't want to be taken down because you're feeling miserable on that day. And I got to be honest with you that you will ruin their whole day if you continue to slide downward and take everybody with you. Do you harbor resentments and hate toward others and cast them out of your life? Oh, my father was fabulous at doing this. Anyone that he got angry with, he would just cast them out of their life and they weren't worth anything to him. In fact, he cast me out 3 different times. 3 times. And it was for 5 years each time. Think about that. 15 years, I had no relationship with him because he cast me out of his life. And it was for the stupidest things. Maybe I didn't agree with him. Maybe he didn't like my opinion. And I saw him do this with so many of his friends. He'd cast people out if he was on the golf course, and they said something about he wanted to let people play through, and another person said, no, just let me take my swing and then we can move on. And he cast him out of his life and never would play golf with him again for that one specific reason. So think about how you think about things and what you do with people. Do you cast people out of your life? Because a lot of people do it just so that they can't be hurt again. Right? They don't want to be hurt again. And I think that's what it was with my dad, is he didn't want anybody who was going to stand up to him because he knew everything. It was his way or the highway. And I think I even have one of those here in my list. Nope. The next one is, have you abused, lashed out, or physically hurt those closest to you? Ugh. There's no reason to do that. And this is part of your clearing, thinking about these things and what you may have done that affected other people's lives. Is it your selfish way or the highway? There it is. That's it right there. And when I wrote this book, I thought about different people and what they did to others. And I've watched them for years because I have a psychology background. And so I find the mind and the way people think extremely interesting. And these items in here are all items that I have witnessed in other people and also myself. Obviously, I needed to do a lot of clearing because of my background and where I came from. Have you stolen the attention in another's moment of glory? Wow, bosses are really good with that, aren't they? You do all the work and then they get all the credit. That is so unfair. And I used to be in dog show, and I train dogs even today, but not for dog show. But I would train dogs, and then somebody else would take them in the ring, and then she'd get all the glory for how hard I worked in the trainings. And I had to send her in with my dog into the ring because it was so political, and that judge didn't know me. So they'd rave on and on. Oh, this dog is trained so beautifully. She moves so beautifully. She stands so beautifully. She's so easy to judge. And she'd go, thank you. You know, I really appreciate you saying that. Never saying it was Shirlene. Shirlene's the one that did this for me. It's always been Shirlene that trained this dog. And the last one I have, are you addicted to alcohol or drugs and saying you're fine and that you've got it all under control? Well, we hear that a lot, right? That one of my husbands was that way, and I witnessed that time and time again. So what I'd love for you to do is read the blog. I'll put these here in the blog so that you can check off what relates to you. And as you're moving through clearing these out of your system, you're going to find that even though you happen to notice it, it's going to come up more than once, because you will be tested by the universe to find out if you really got the message. So be sure to like my post, please don't forget, and make a comment about what you're moving through in your clarity and how you are making changes in your life. That's what's so important. And the things that I'm talking to you about will make all the difference in your business, because it will really help you with sales. Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to click the like button, and I'll see you next week. Shirlene Reeves, over and out.